Good morning, boys and girls. So today we are going to go ahead and continue with making inferences. Last week you were working on making inferences with fiction material. This week we're going to be making inferences with nonfiction material. So before we start, I'm going to do a little review with you on making inferences. So remember, sometimes writers give information or express ideas directly, which means that sometimes they tell you, but other times they convey their meaning indirectly or inexplicitly, which means they don't come right out and tell you something, which was kind of like in the story The Stranger that we heard. Chris Van Allsburg, the author of that story, did not come right out and tell you that the stranger was Jack Frost or fall or winter. You had to figure that out. When that's the case, you have to kind of infer or read between the lines. So remember, making inferences is about connecting the dots between what is stated and what is unstated. As a reader, you must combine what the passage says with your background knowledge to make the best possible guess or inference. An inference is a logical guess based on analysis. You can form inferences by analyzing objects, emotions, events, facts, or ideas. And inferences are evidence-based guesses, which means you're just not randomly making a guess, but you're using the evidence to support your answer. Okay, so there's some little top secret tips for helping make inferences. Your first one is to read the passage carefully and even read it more than once. Sometimes I read something more than one time and I get more out of it every time I read it. Also, think about what you already know about the topic. Support your inference with evidence from the text. Use common sense. And next one is to make a logical guess based on the facts and what you know about the topic. And remember, making inferences is not just providing your personal interpretation, but also including the facts from the story. Okay, so today we're going to read a little story and then we're going to answer a couple questions, and I'm going to show you how I go back and forth into the story to support my inference. So the story I'm going to read to you today is called The Great Barrier Reef. Great Barrier Reef. Did you know that approximately 10% of all reefs have been ruined beyond recovery? In fact, it is estimated that 20 to 30% of the world's coral reefs will be destroyed in the next 20 years. This is particularly alarming to Australian scientists. Their hope is to conserve the Great Barrier Reef. However, it won't be easy since the Great Barrier Reef is already suffering from the impact of fertilizer, sewage runoff, and human activity in the area. Sugar farming, in particular, is deteriorating the Great Barrier Reef. The nutrients in the fertilizer runoff from sugar farms and they run off from sugar farms and encourage growth of algae, which grow fast. When the waters around the reefs become rich in nutrients, the algae grows rapidly and takes over the coral. In addition, the nutrients also stunt the growth of many of the marine animals and plants. Eventually, the number of and diversity of fish, coral, and other sea animals will be significantly impacted. This is especially concerning because not only is the Great Barrier Reef home to thousands of species of marine life, it also fuels much of the Australian tourism industry. Okay, so now that I read it once, I'm going to go back and I'm going to see if I can actually make these inferences. So you'll notice I have a chart, and on it, the top column says, can you infer that? And then yes or no, and then why or why not. Provide statements from the text. So I'm going to look at that first one, and the first thing says, can you infer that coral reefs will not exist in 20 years? Well, I remember reading about that So I'm going to go back to my selection and I'm going to see if I can find that. And I can find it right up here at the top. And it says, it is estimated that 20 to 30% of the world's coral reefs will be destroyed in the next 20 years. Not that they will all be destroyed, but only 20 to 30%. So I'm going to go back to my next page, to the same page, and I'm going to put in my reasons of can I infer it? And no, I cannot infer that because it says, in fact, it is estimated that 20 to 30% of the world's coral reef will be destroyed. It doesn't say it will be completely eliminated, so I cannot infer that. Okay, so now I'm going to look at the next one. The next question says, Australian scientists are working to save the Great Barrier Reef. So I'm going to go back to my story and I'm going to see if I can find something about that. And I am looking to see if they are indeed trying to preserve it. And when I come right here, it says, their hope is to conserve the Great Barrier Reef. I'm going to go back here. And it says, can you infer that scientists are working to save it? And I'm going to say that yes, because it says their hope is to conserve the Great Barrier Reef. And I can say, yes, I can infer that because I had information in the story that supported that. Okay, let's look at the next one. The next one says, the writer would support any effort to save the Great Barrier Reef. So I'm looking for things that would say that the writer is going to support saving it. So again, I'm going to go back and I'm going to look for anything that's going to tell me that yes, we want to support, we're supporting saving it. And I see this words right here. This is particularly alarming. That means it was really sending up a red flag that, hey, we have to do something. I also look further down and you will see it says especially concerning. So I am alarmed and I am concerned. So when I come back over here, it says, would the writer support it? Well, yes, because it said he was alarmed by it and he was also concerned. So I added those right there. I am particularly alarmed and I am concerned. These words show that the author is concerned about it. So yes, I can infer that the writers would support it. Okay, moving on to the next question. It says, there are sugar farms near the coast. Going back to the story, how would I know that the sugar farms are near the coast? Well, when I go back and I read right here, it says sugar farming in particular is deteriorating the Great Barrier Reef. The nutrients in the fertilizer run off from the sugar farms. So if they are running off from the sugar farms, that means that they're running off from the farm into the water because the Great Barrier Reef is in the water. So when I come back here, I am going to say the nutrients in fertilizer runoff from sugar farms, and that tells me that the farms are close to the coast. So again, that would be a yes. Okay, let's look at the last one. The last one says, other reefs around the world are impacted by sugar farms. Well, I'm going to go back to my story and I'm looking for where it says about other reefs being impacted by sugar farms, but I don't see anything in here about any other reefs. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to put that it did not mention any other reefs. So therefore, I cannot infer that other reefs would be impacted. And so I'm going to click that right there. Okay, so now what I want you to notice is how many times I went back into the story to look for those inferences or those clues that would support my inference. When you go back and you're working, you need to also make sure you're going back. Okay, so what you're going to do for today is you're going to go into your classroom and you are going to, after you finish watching this video, you are going to complete the Google Slides activity. So when you click on that activity, it's going to bring it up and it's going to look like this. And you are going to notice that there's a box here for you to type your name, and you will see these red circles. So what you're going to do is when you read the selection, then you're going to click your circle and you're going to drag it to either A, B, or C. So if I read the first one, it says, the anteater is well built for eating ants and termites. It has long, sharp claws to open the hills where the prey lives, but it does not destroy their homes. It can devour up to 35,000 ants a day. So when I come over here, I'm going to look at my choices, and it says the anteater does not destroy the ants' homes because it is kind. Don't think that it's using kindness. Let's look at the next one. It says it knows it must save some ants to eat another day. Well, if I destroyed the home, then the ants wouldn't be there and I wouldn't have a food source to go to. It would be like the grocery store. If the grocery store closed, I couldn't go back and get more food. And then the last one says it leaves the homes because it has had enough to eat. No, I don't think so. I think it's going to leave the homes because I need to go back the next day and get some more food. So all you're going to do is you are going to drag that circle and you're going to put it around the correct answer. Okay? You're going to go ahead and continue through all of your slides. When you're finished, you can go ahead and turn this activity in, and I will see you tomorrow. Goodbye.